Welcome, everyone. This is Spoiler Alert. I'm Dr. Darin Detwiler.
I'm Callin Godson-Green.
Good to see you again.
Always in person this time,
In person, not just in person, but we are here at the International Association for Food Protection, IFP, in Cleveland, Ohio. Coming to IFP is kind of like almost like a high school reunion or a gathering of heroes. And that's clearly what we have going on here.
Food safety heroes. Better
Food
than
safety
most.
heroes. We
Yeah,
all wear different capes and have different names. We have different skill sets to bring, but we all are kind of common in our focus and our mission in terms of what we do.
definitely. It's a nice way to think of it.
I got another spoiler alert for you.
Oh, go
We're
on.
not alone. We have a guest.
Spoiler alert.
Yes, yes. Wearing his very dapper gray superhero attire.
Yes.
Matt Anselmo, welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Where are you coming in from?
So I happen to live in the city of these superheroes, Pittsburgh being one of them, another many great heroes coming out of the Steel City.
Excellent.
So I'm not far away, just down the river.
So you're kind of like the man of Steel.
Yes,
Of
actually.
Steel City.
Yeah, it fits.
It does fit.
Yeah.
It does fit. You know what else fits? You have a pretty good job title. Why don't you tell us, for those who have no idea who you are and what you do, what is your superhero function?
So first of all, I'm really happy to be here. I appreciate it. Anytime we get to talk about food safety as a group, especially at somewhere special like IFP, it's just a whole lot of fun sharing thoughts and experiences with people. But again, my name's Matt Anselmo. I work for Giant Eagle Supermarkets. We're a local retail grocer here in Ohio and Pennsylvania mostly. We have about 220 locations, so quite a bit of locations out there serving communities with food for over 100 years. So it's quite a storied history, and for them, I run our food safety program at the retail level.
Excellent, excellent. And you have to admit, the retail establishment, I mean, this is where most people are interacting. You know, we're not all going to farms. We're not all going to, the local farmer's market or the CSA. And,
Sure.
and most people are getting their food from a grocery store. So food safety at a grocery store is kind of a junction where you're not only talking about protecting consumers, you're also talking about the idea of the food safety reputation of all of the companies behind the brands on your shelves and of your own entity being, the food safety reputation of Giant Eagle.
Absolutely. It's an honor to do it, and we look at it as not really a job, but a lifestyle as well. People come to us for their events. We're the event destination. So you're holding your Thanksgiving meal, you're holding your Christmas meal, all these things that people take and hold so dear to them with all of their loved ones. You know, we're center stage.
Yeah.
And we have to show up every day. And that just means that we have to be on our game every day. One mistake can turn into a tragedy. So just super excited about the opportunity to speak with you guys about food safety.
Well, the honor is ours. And I got to tell you, when you're looking at food safety, in most cases, I would imagine if you were to talk with wide range of people here, they're saying, look, I'm focused on this one product or this one packaging or this one line or this one group. But at retail, I mean, you've got everything coming at you from every different shape and size and angle, frozen, dry, canned, fresh. You've got so many different things going on. You literally, I don't know if you have a playbook, but it's got to be huge.
I can't describe how many responsibilities. So if we go down to the store level, a store leader and the awesome responsibility that they have to not only look after food safety, but for guest satisfaction,
Yeah.
right? For sales, for shrink, for labor. They have so many things to contend with. I just love the fact that I can focus on food safety with our group and get that message across to them and be their support structure so that they can be successful at store level. But you're right. We have delis, we have produce, we have bakeries, meat departments where we still actually cut and process meat in our stores, let alone pharmacy and all the other additions that you can think of. It's something new every day, which is also why I love my job.
Well, I don't know how often you go to the grocery store.
In New York City, not that often.
But we still go to the store.
Of course.
I would imagine, though, that you don't go to the grocery store and just buy dry goods or just buy frozen goods or just buy fresh deli meat or
Absolutely
whatever.
not.
You're going to have a little bit of everything.
Smorgasbord
A
of
whole Mambo
everything.
number 5 collection of different kinds of foods, right? And that's got to really challenge you in terms of that idea of not only, reacting, but trying to be proactive in terms of food safety.
Absolutely. I think in past it was a lot of canning and processing, shelf stable type food. But a lot of people are turning to more healthy options. They want fresh food. They want food prepared on site. They want access to it, and they want it all hours of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, they also want it delivered, right? So there's so many different challenges as we try to bring that food from center store out to the perimeter departments where traditionally that's where your fresh product is. And get our folks shopping that racetrack is what we call it, right?
The
outside,
racetrack, the
yeah,
racetrack.
the outside of the perimeters of the store, and get that value, increase our brand,
Yep.
to protect all of that, to get all the processes and the programs straight, to get the education down to the frontline team members that really need it is certainly a challenge, but one that we deal with and contend with every day.
I have to tell you, I've had a couple of situations recently where some of my grad students were talking about grocery stores, and one of them was saying how she was binge watching the Brady Bunch,
Okay.
and she's like, "Why did Alice always go to the butcher to get meat? Why didn't she just like pick it up from?" I'm like, "Well, that's the way you see meat at the store today is not the way you used to get it back in
Yep.
the
A little
back in the
different.
day." And I had another student who was saying he was watching some of those Disney movies, like when Kurt Russell was young, and there was that movie, The Gus, where the donkey goes through the grocery store, and they were like, "Oh, the produce aisles were huge," and I'm like, "Well, we didn't have commercially packaged goods and ready to eat foods like we have today. You had a lot more." Raw ingredients and canned and just the idea of the kinds of foods or the ways that foods are sold at the grocery stores, that has evolved over the last few decades.
Immensely. In the way that they order them, the way they shop them, and the way they receive them. So everyone has a curbside pickup, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't even come in the stores anymore, right? They're
Yeah,
shopping
you
from
have
mobile.
third-party shoppers.
Yes. They come into your store, they shop your store, but someone else is purchasing it and taking it to them, to ensure that chain, that cold chain, and that food safety process continues all the way to the end consumer.
Do you have
So many
do you have
different challenges.
Oh, yeah, do you have food delivered?
Of course.
Really?
I don't have a car. We went through this.
That's right. Last episode, we talked about how she doesn't have a car.
New York City.
New York City.
That's
That's hilarious.
also something to contend with is the geography
Yeah.
of where you
Ah.
are, how you live, what type of lifestyle you live. Do you have kids? Are you an older generation that maybe doesn't have access? And that's one great thing that I get to work on in our company too, is to work with our community partners and create different access. We have a mobile market that's a driving grocery store on wheels with refrigeration and
Wow.
SmartSense alarms,
How?
to manage our cold chain, that we can go into some underserved communities and get fresh produce, fresh meats and products,
That's brilliant.
and provide them a safe food in these areas that don't have a lot of access.
So let's come back to some of these factors here. I like to look at leadership within food safety as an ideal situation, not ideal condition, but ideal situation is that a leader works such that they're leading with intention. They can't predict everything, but you're trying to be predictive. You're trying to be proactive. And I would imagine that trying to be proactive in food safety within the retail establishment, within that community, would be to not only understand the variabilities of the products you're selling, but of the clientele. You were just mentioning geography, the age, the socioeconomic status, the intention of why they're buying these things. What are some of the things that go into that bigger equation when you try to funnel all this down into how do we be proactive?
So I'm glad you brought that up. We don't want to be a reactive approach, right? Obviously, you're going to have that situation here and there. You have to react to situations that occur. But being proactive is going to reduce the amount of reactivity that you have to certain situations. But being proactive in a grocery store means partnering with our sales team, our merchandising teams, what's coming, right? Attending shows like this or other food shows, understanding what's on the horizon, getting feedback from our customers. What are they demanding? What do they want out of us that we can then create programs, provide them a safe, quality product? So I think in our situation, we have the awesome responsibility of partnering with not only the stores, but our corporate staff to make sure that we're part of that business and ingrain our food safety culture into their practices. That way, when they go live to market, all of those processes and practices, all the training that our team members need are all folded into one nice program, and we can push that out to the stores, coach, teach, train, and get the fruits of all the labor. You often see sometimes merchandisers, sales. They're pushing that forward. Maybe they forget about food safety, right? And then you run into an issue where you have to react then. All intentions are good. We need to sell product. We need to make safe products. But really having those connections with the business teams really helps to ensure that you're putting out a final product that's going to be safe for everyone.
Well, I would imagine too that it's kind of seen as part of what a shopper would see as the value when they're seeing the price tag, when they're seeing the brand, when they're seeing the colors, when they're seeing the pictures, whatever it is that is part of the, hey, see me,
Yeah.
buy this now, buy this size, buy this quantity or whatever. They want to see the value of food safety. And it's hard to show that.
It's very hard to show the value of food safety. If you look at a P&L, you're not going to see food safety on that line, right? But it absolutely impacts that line, whether it be through recalls, whether it be through mishaps, social media posting, right? Any day could be your best day or your worst day. But planning ahead, being proactive, having those relationships should reduce that, which then reduces the overall spend when it comes to incidents that occur.
I did a survey many, many years ago, and you probably know the answer. So I'm going to ask you. You know what the number one thing people, when they're shopping at a grocery store, look for in terms of food safety? Sounds like a Family Feud.
Something.
Yeah.
One on the board.
Right? Ding, ding, ding.
General person in
The
a
general
grocery store.
person.
Something around the deli.
Around
I
the
would
deli?
think.
I'm sure that's up there. That's probably like number 5
no.
on the Family Feud list.
Uh-uh.
That's not wrong, but the number one thing that came back was the dates.
Oh,
The dates,
fair, yeah.
like the use by date, sell by
Best
date,
Buy,
Best Buy.
Enjoy Buy.
And of course, that sparks one of the biggest questions in terms of why are these different dates kind of there? But the idea of spoiler alert, spoiler alert, people want to know how long can I buy this before it's going to spoil?
Yes.
Right? There's a lot of focus on the idea. I want to buy something that has the farthest out date, or I want to have the clarity, or I want to have that insurance that it's going to last for a while. And of course, we're buying things in larger quantities many times. We're not buying the small thing of milk. We're buying a large gallon of milk, and you got to do math. Will I consume all this milk before that date, or that kind of a thing? What are the ways in which the retail side of things is trying to communicate food safety beyond just the dates?
I think that's rooted in education, right? So educating our team members, because they're really the voice of us to the guest. So we have to make sure that education is passed on to them. So this brings up a great story. Years ago, when I first started with Giant Eagle, we had a power outage at a location, which unfortunately with our power grid and where we live, we tend to see those. But this team member was so proud of what had happened. He called me on my cell phone and said, I just saved us all this food from risk. He worked in a produce department, and unfortunately, he discarded quite a bit of product that was non-TCS, didn't need to be maintained under refrigeration, maybe for quality, but we did food safety by accident, right? And I think we sometimes do that. We need that clarity going down to the front lines, that our team members understand what is food safety, so that I could pass that along to a guest. So if a guest comes up and says, hey, what does this date mean? They can confidently speak to the process so that they understand. But don't ask me about Enjoy Buy, Best Buy, because I'm still a little confused myself. Hopefully we get some clarity soon on that. But
well, you mentioned how, a lot of times the grocery store is where people go because they're going to have a family reunion or a summer event or Thanksgiving. And do you know when is the most common time for refrigerators to fail?
Oh, around the holidays?
Around the holidays, yeah, Thanksgiving.
Classic.
Those appliance repairmen make a ton of money in those emergency service calls because the refrigerator or the freezer died. And you know why it dies?
Well, I was either going to say overstocking.
Overstocking, yeah, because they went to the grocery store and they bought a ton of food and they weren't thinking about where is this going to go and how is this going to fit. And so, when people are stocking up on food because they want to have this event, I would imagine they don't want their events to be remembered for all the wrong reasons.
Oh, God.
And if they don't want their event to be remembered for all the wrong reasons, that would mean that they don't want that experience at the grocery store to be remembered for all the wrong reasons.
And that's why I think also not only educating our team members on food safety for the customer's sake, but educating them on food safety for their own.
Yeah.
We're really focusing on an education piece coming up here. We know that's what drives culture, is making sure that everyone has the same information. They can act on that information. So what we've been doing recently is communicating not just our operations team so they could pass down safety messages to our front lines, but using an app that goes directly, it's almost like a social media platform to go directly to our team members that they can apply to and see a feed. And we're supplying them information on how you're safe in your own home.
Yeah.
If you're going to throw a party, here's some tips, for the 4th of July. We're not holding a party inside on the 4th of July, right? Unless it's raining. So we need to make sure that we're safe, not only at work, but take that home with you. Our company was based on families and sharing food to the local communities, ingrained into the communities. And whether it's a small operation like us or a huge operation that's international, it still means that you can connect with your team members on that local level.
Yeah.
And make sure that you're providing them all of that information. I think respect goes a long way. Respect, caring, being a human being to everyone, right? We get caught up in policies and programs and process, which is all great and we need it. But just being there, being respectful of the person that's there and giving them that information so that they can succeed, I think is really important.
One of the number one questions in terms of like food safety, specifically beyond the use by date, is always around thawing the big turkey, like for Thanksgiving. How long do I thaw this?
Yeah.
And it always amazes me, like when I go to a grocery store and it's the day before Thanksgiving, or Thanksgiving Eve, as some people call it, and someone's trying to buy a big old frozen turkey, and it's
Every
like,
year.
okay, well, wait a minute, how are you going to thaw that? And I would imagine that your teams are probably well versed in terms of for this many pounds, this many hours, kind of a thing.
Yeah, we make sure to educate our customers, signage, putting out bullet points during
idea.
the holidays, best practices that we could pass along to our consumers, but also forecasting, working with our vendors to ensure that we have enough product. We know that certain markets like to wait, other markets like to plan ahead.
Yeah.
So getting that right size, make sure we don't have too much left over,
Yeah.
right? But just that right amount that someone can offer a fresh turkey versus a frozen. But yeah, anytime we have the holiday seasons, we always make sure to put out those best practices to push along that information to the consumer.
So knowledge is definitely one tool, like in the superheroes toolbox.
Yes.
I feel like it's all well and good to discuss food safety culture and sort of have that ethos in place. It's not foolproof. So is there
Correct.
anything you kind of have that's interesting within your stores or even above store level that
Sure.
like keeps things safe and flowing, but also gives you kind of visibility into what's happening or reassurance?
So with the rise in technology, obviously, food safety has to grasp that, test it out, use that knowledge. Again, our company was based on customer service. Our team members have to be there for our customers. They have to sell products. We can't always rely on them 100% of the time
Of course.
to do a task. So can we take any of that away and utilize technology that we can still have that customer service piece, but also grasp that preventative measure? So with that, we have utilized SmartSense in situations where, okay, we can take some temperature monitoring off as a tool, take that off their plate so that they can provide additional service to our customers. And we get that information. Not only do we get that information, but we get it when we want it, how we want it, at whatever frequency we want it, and 24 hours a day. Our technology isn't going to get called away by a customer, right? They don't have to go on break every few hours. So we can rely on that technology as a metric and as a guiding light right into a situation. So if we do have a power outage, from the comfort of my home, which I don't see very often, but from the comfort of my home,
Or the
I can
comfort of
pull up-
Cleveland,
I can
Ohio.
pull up an app and tell temperatures in all of my cases.
Like right now, if you
right
had your
now,
phone, you can
I can
pull
tell
up
you
temperatures.
whatever store you want, and I can tell you what by case, what's happening, there's a situation occurring, and if they're responding to it.
Now, I would imagine that ideally you'd want to see like evidence before it's too late to act.
Correct. Yes. And as we improve technology, we're able to do that with better and better, accuracy, right? So when we first started, we had a larger window. We were getting data. It wasn't quite the data that we wanted to see, but over time, we've sharpened that focus and that accuracy to ensure that, yes, that's not a false alarm. That's a real problem. And the store is getting alerted of it, and they're taking a proactive approach so that we don't have to toss food. So we don't have a potential food safety risk on our hands.
Well, and if you look at it in terms of, yes, there's food safety and there's reputation and risk and that nature, but it's also, when you are saying, oh, well, we had no idea that our refrigerator unit was going to fail and we weren't taking the opportunity to track it and we didn't intervene. And now we're being reactive and we have to throw out, I don't know, 10,000 pounds of meat.
Yes.
And people wonder, why are prices rising? Or
Exactly.
why is it that I can't find the product I'm looking for? Or why is it that my experience at my local grocery store is not what I'm wanting because I can't find what I'm looking for? Perhaps leveraging technology provides value in many different categories or in many
It
different
does.
ways.
And we can also use it to help with our partnerships. So Giant Eagle loves to partner with other companies for solutions. I think a lot of companies are looking in how do they pull the best of what they do into their operations. We may not be the best at everything, but maybe someone else is pretty good at it.
Yeah.
So let's partner and combine resource. But we can use that technology now, pull in a partner and outfit them with that technology, right? And now we have this holistic view of not only our operations, but the operations of someone that may be in our location, under our roof, selling their products.
Yeah, I think, like, as you are well aware, grocery stores carry a lot of responsibility, even for issues that aren't theirs. If I buy something in Giant Eagle and there's a problem with it, I'm going to tell everyone that I got this thing from Giant Eagle. Doesn't matter
Exactly.
who produced it, manufactured it.
Yep.
It was from Giant Eagle. And then that spreads. And as we all know, bad news spreads much quicker than good news. Or, I'm much more likely to tell everyone that I got bad food from Giant Eagle than say I got a lovely turkey for my Thanksgiving dinner and everyone should go there next year. So having that visibility into your vendors and things, anyone that supplies to you, is very important as well.
Yeah. I'll give you a little anecdote here. So our fiscal year wrapped up this past June, end of June, and I had the ability to go in front of our entire operations and talk about food safety, which shows the commitment. And the commitment I think that you need to have a food safety culture is to put someone up there just to talk about food safety,
Oh, yeah.
which was fantastic. Our CEO also addressed the store leader group and the operations group that was in attendance, and he shared a story. So we have long tenured team members, which certainly helps with our culture. And he was speaking about, he calls these long tenured team members when they hit milestones.
Well,
So I believe this woman hit like a 40-year milestone. So he gave her a call and he's talking to us about the conversation. Hey, how long have you worked at that Giant Eagle? Expecting for an answer of 5, 6, 7 different locations. And she said, Bill, 1. And he said, you've been there for 40 years
At one location.
at one location. And she said, yeah. And he said, that's your Giant Eagle.
mm-hmm.
That's not mine. That's not art. It's yours. And it's true. It's her Giant Eagle. She's been there that long. All of her kids have gone through there. Her family, her friends, the community. She's a staple. People go there for her,
Yes.
right? Those are the folks that we need to get on board, right? Which normally they are, because they care so much about that location, the community, that whatever we say, hey, this is what you need to do to keep those people safe, I'm on board. What do I need to do, right? And then that person brings on all these new people that come through that door, whether they're there for a summer because they're working there, in college, or they're there for years to come, or maybe their mom or their dad work there and they're coming behind, to grab them to help them build that culture at that store, what I would call a subculture, I think, that we've been hearing about, right? And
Definitely.
ingrain that food safety into them. So I think it's our responsibility as food safety heroes to tap into those types of people and figure out, how do we sell that message to them and then support them through that process.
I have to admit, I do the cooking and I do the shopping in my household because I'm a food safety guy and I'm a food kind of person.
Yeah.
And so I go in my car to a grocery store and I plan out meals and I
Yep.
buy, ingredients to make from scratch meals. But I make it a habit. I make it as an important part of my experience to have conversations with the person on the other side of the deli counter, the person, who wears the supervisor or the manager badge, the person over here. Because if I can't have an opportunity to have a, cordial conversation, and I see these people 2 or 3 times a week, right? Then how am I going to go, let me ask you a food safety question, kind of a thing. But most people don't have conversations with it's very transactional.
Yep.
But I'm glad you brought this up, the idea that, being part of a community, and here's someone who's not only part of a community in this 40-year experience at this one location, but she's also part of the city. How many families of year after year, decade after decade, have gone there and have interacted with her as, someone who's connected to this evolution in their there was a celebration or a holiday or whatever. So communication becomes an important tool. Do consumers talk more and ask more questions today than they did in the past, or do you think less?
I think it's less asking directly in person because I think there's less that actually come in person, right?
Yeah.
So if you look, you're the type of consumer that we don't see as much anymore. The physical in person. I don't know if you make a paper shopping list. My wife still does that. She loves it, right? Walking through the aisles, selecting items. You're there for the impulse buys as well, which is great. We love that. But we get a lot of communication back from our customers in different forms, right? So we get it through third-party apps. We get it through the internet. We get it through a social media platform.
Yeah.
A review left online?
Yes. So we love to get the in-person feedback, and we wish we'd get a little bit more of that. But it has shifted over the years to how do we communicate with our customers to let them know what is it that we want them to buy? Because we have all this information. We want you to try these new products, but how do you do that to someone that's not physically in the store? So every day it's something different where we learn about these different channels to communicate with them, and work with our partners to make sure that we get that messaging right the first time.
I would imagine there's a lot of assumptions about what technologies are being used. Oh, thermometers, or I'm sure there's also they're probably using AI robots to scan my face and they know exactly what I'm going to buy before I even walk in. I don't even know what I'm going to buy, but they know what I'm going to buy based on my history or whatever. They're going to scan me and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
There's a lot of assumptions and questions about how technology is being used. How can retailers start to communicate that here's where the value lies in how we're using technology for the consumer?
I know one thing that we pride ourselves on is our Advantage card, we call it, right? So it's our club membership card. And we were a very early adopter of such a technology, but it has continuously improved year over year. And I think a lot of people try to assume the worst, right? Oh, if I scan my card, they're going to track me
Yeah.
and all of my purchases and things like that. Yes, right? To a degree, because we have all of these offerings and we want to know what are folks buying so that we can put in other like items to get a better shopping experience. But what they don't understand from my perspective is if I have a recall and you bought that product, I need to get a hold of you as soon as possible, right? So if you have a membership card and you scan that on your purchase and one of those items are potentially affected days later, I can reach out to you almost instantly to let you know that, hey, this is a potential risk and this is what you need to do with that product. Even if it has someone else's name on it, if they bought it at our location, it's our product.
Yeah.
And we'll take full responsibility for that, right? If we're selling that product, we need to get that information out to them quickly. So that kind of technology is not customer facing
Sure.
necessarily. It's a hidden technology and something that's very visible in their card and their membership, but something that we tend to talk about quite often.
Have you ever experienced how consumers react to, hey, I got a notice, I got an email or
Yeah,
whatever
my
about a
mom calls
recall?
me all the time.
Wow.
Hey, we were affected by a potential recall. Thanks, absolutely. That's why we do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do get quite a bit of feedback. People grateful. A lot of times they may hear it from us before they hear it from a news release,
That's key. Yeah.
a press release.
I would imagine that has a big impact on how people view the leadership with the retailer in terms of the fact that they took the step
Yep.
to connect
Definitely.
rather than it's up to you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
buy
If
everywhere.
you see the notice, you see the notice. If not,
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
can you do?
and you can't make them return it, or you
Yeah.
can't make them throw it
Correct.
away, but you can make the effort to say, at least you have that information out there as a shopper.
And I would like to think that the industry as a whole is doing that they're stepping up and they want to do the right thing. But that's one of our core values at Giant Eagle is do right.
What I'll say is that most management and definitely food safety teams in businesses like yours want to do good and try to do good. But kind of what we talked about on the last episode with JP, having those conversations with other departments and maybe getting them to understand the value in doing something like that can be difficult because there's a cost to calling every
Absolutely.
customer.
Yes.
And I can understand that while food safety teams and often businesses want to do good, they often don't. And, I have had situations where I've bought products that end up being recalled. I'm subscribed to everything, so would see it immediately, but haven't received phone calls or notifications from larger maybe chains than yours. And I don't know whether maybe that's the correlation. You guys, you're still big, but you're not as big. So maybe it's more still that kind of mom and pop mentality and you care for your customers and you know your customers. I think that it's a testament to Giant Eagle that you guys do that, and it's not something you can take for granted or assume that everyone's doing.
Well, on that note, before we end, I want to make sure that I mention it doesn't matter if you are a small or regional or mom or pop store or the biggest retailer out there. The food safety experience and that relationship that a consumer or customer has, buying that meat or produce or frozen lasagna, whatever it is still the same exact kind of, this is the transaction, this is the experience, this is the shopping. No one says, oh, it's a smaller store, therefore, food safety should, yes, it's fine, it's
Yeah.
okay, they don't have to be as safe or whatever. Or it's a smaller store, it's a smaller regional brand or whatever, so it's going to make it such as not as important of a family get together for the holidays at my house, right? They want to trust.
No way.
Yes, they want to trust whether you're the mom and pop or the regional or the national or international chain, and that every experience, every purchase, every shopping experience is going to end such that there is not only the satisfaction of the user experience, and the number one question you get asked when you check out at the cash register, did you find everything you were looking for?
Yep.
But that nothing they buy is going to
Do harm.
do harm. That's a great way of putting
Do
it.
no harm.
Do no harm. And I would imagine that that's going to be a common message you got to communicate throughout your entire team, whether it's the 17-year-old working a summer job or the 40 years on the job at this one location person who I would assume is a supervisor of some sort. That's got to be a consistent message.
It is, and not only downward but upward, right? So we've talked a lot about having conversations with store level team members, but also for those organizations that may be struggling with the communication upwards, is showing them that what we're about is doing no harm, right? And having those difficult conversations. I know on your previous episode talking about proactive versus reactive and the cost of food safety issues, how putting a little bit of cost into what may seem like a lot of cost at first into a proactive approach is going to save you tenfold.
Yep.
Instead of being reactive.
Sometimes it's hard to convey that message of we need to do this. Well, that's going to be expensive and we don't even know if this is going to be an issue. So why are we investing in this? Well, because we know that if we don't do this, it's going to cost us this much, or that this can play
Right.
out. It's kind of like that idea of we always look at option A and B, but do we ever look at the option of what happens if we don't do any option? What kind of a situation is that going to put us in? And here, not only we talk about public health, we could talk about economics. We can talk about brand reputation. I don't even know how you put a price tag on that. But we
Can't.
also talk about people's jobs. There's a lot of different areas of talking about in terms of now we need to frame this message of why we need to prioritize this, why we need to invest in this, as opposed to, oh, what are the chances? Let's play the odds.
You always say, oh, that'll never happen here, right? We share social media posts, outbreaks, unfortunate events that happen in terms of food safety outbreaks with our team as real life situations of, yes, it could happen here. Everyone thinks it can't happen to me till it does.
Well, Matt, Giant Eagle,
Yeah.
and that's not your superhero call sign.
Thought that was his
Sound-
full name.
Is it
Matt Giant Eagle.
With the gray superhero cape. We all have different experiences no matter what city we live in, but one of those experiences that kind of connects us all is the idea of we go to the grocery store, we bring the food back to our house, and whatever we do with it is up to us, but we have that experience. And I don't think you find a community out there that isn't rallying around the idea of here is our local retailer, big or small, nationwide or mom and
Agree.
pop. And probably, like you said, I really like how you pointed this out. One of the first considerations that people have in terms of, oh, we're going to do this thing, we're going to have this event, we're going to do something, we're going to celebrate. What are we going to do? We're going to go to Giant Eagle.
Or as we like to say in Pittsburgh, Giant Eagle.
Oh,
Yeah.
good to know. Did you have any last thoughts? Something we didn't cover?
I would just say that, and I know this is something that you hear all the time, but it is a journey. It's not a destination. Food safety, right? And if there's a retailer out there that's not part of a food safety share group, that's getting on calls regularly and sharing information, the good, the bad, the ugly, I would suggest doing it. It's fantastic. There's no competitive advantage when it comes to keeping people safe. I found so many answers in these groups. So I would just suggest that would be something that if you're not doing right now, you probably should. And continue to work. It's very difficult changing the culture, ingraining that food safety culture into the existing culture at your organization. But to continue to fight like a superhero and don't let down.
And also part of a superhero team.
Yes.
Yeah,
There's
I don't
so
know what
many
would be
different.
Marvel or
I like Marvel.
DC or
You like Marvel? I think it doesn't matter when you look at the idea of when you have a kid who says that they wish that someone somewhere had done something to have make sure that they have a healthy, productive, normal life or whatever. I run into this. There's a child who had a significant E. coli illness, was hospitalized. While hospitalized, ended up having a stroke and losing the use of one of his arms. And later, uh, talked about it, drew a picture, and said that he wished someone in the food industry had done something to have prevented him from not being able to play like the other kids in the playground at school, and drew a superhero in flight.
wow.
Tights, cape, whatever. And the no name tag, no beard net, no hair net, no lab coat or suit coat or anything like that. But in today's world of DC and Marvel superheroes, literally the person, whatever department or team at a retailer or at a food restaurant, their role in food safety is equivalent to that of the DC or Marvel superhero in a lot of people's lives. And I think that sometimes we have to remind our employees that you might be seeing yourself as clocking in and clocking out, doing a job or, working your shift or whatever. There are people that think of, they want their food to be safe. And those people who do this are the superheroes in their community.
You're right. And that's why we always say when we visit, we work for you, not the other way around.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Well, Matt, thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Appreciate
you.
the time.